make me who I am today. My mother was the African-American Mother Teresa in my community. People would come and stay at the house and live there for days, for weeks, for months, for years sometimes. We're still in contact with so many people. Every once in a while, somebody will knock on the door and say, "Miss Payne, I graduated college." And I'll be like, he looks so different. But that was what our legacy was and still is. And so it made me very interested in people, how people think, how people live, how people survive. And it made me want to be around lots of people, made me comfortable in my own skin. I studied tap, jazz, ballet, hip hop. I played the saxophone. I directed jazz bands and things like that, coming up from the time I was about 8 years old. And I was very involved in my community, and that was exciting for me, meeting new people. I went to high school, and my school, thank God, had an amazing music program, so I was able to continue studying jazz and to continue studying Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday and Sarah Vaughan, and those are people who I fell in love with at a really, really young age. I was heavily involved in my church, and so the church choir, forget about it, there's no training like being there every single Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and having to take your jeans off and put on stockings and tuck them into your sneakers and put on a skirt. Excellence was the policy in church all the time, so that's where I got so much of my training. I sang with Hezekiah Walker coming up, and you know, if your suit was not pressed and your hair was not did, you didn't feel right singing in the choir. I know it's not about that, but there was an excellence. There was a desire to be your best every single time you walked outside. And that's where I came from. My inspirations were the first ladies on the front seat, the way they crossed their legs and sat up straight, the way their hat sat on their head, and they spoke to everyone like this: "Praise the Lord, Sister Chrisette, how are you today?" It's beautiful. It was a sight. It was magical for me. And I used to sit in the second row. My mom would direct the choir. And when the lady in front of me stood up, her name was Kava. When she stood up, I would stand up. When she sat down, I would sit down. And when she said, "Praise the Lord," I would say, "Praise the Lord." So I wanted to be just like a lady. It was my desire to be ladylike. People ask me now why I carry myself the way I do, and I think that's from the training that I had coming up as a kid. I went to college. I studied vocal jazz performance. And in college, I had 3 jobs. I was a dance instructor in the local community at a community center. I worked in a home for emotionally disturbed and some handicapped for years, and I was also a teacher's aide in a special education type of school. That's also where my parents said they were both special ed teachers, so that was a passion of mine. I had those 3 jobs. I was going to college, and I was singing all the time. New York City, Detroit, Philly, B-more. We all have a really kind of cool culture, kind of like an underground culture. You can go to the open mic night on Sunday night.